University, and that is Art of Courtly Love. And the writer we are being mentioned is Andreas Capellanus. So I'm trying to explain you the concept of Art of Courtly Love. What is this concept? What is this medieval concept of love? And what are the characteristics of this medieval? And because we are going to study De Amore, which is a prescribed text for MA previous English syllabus. So I'll just give you a brief idea. What is this love? What are the characteristics and how we have to understand? Because before you understand De Amore, we need to understand what is this and why this text has been written, the purpose, the concept, and the all the idea behind this. So these are the slides which I have prepared, and you will see that in a very simple way we are going to understand it. So I'll just give you a brief idea. Please note down the points for your examination purpose. Courtly love is the medieval concept of expressing admiration and love in a noble, chivalrous fashion. This type of love exists outside marriage. True courtly love exists on a spiritual, idealized plane and does not need to be physically consummate. Widely popular in Europe throughout the Middle Ages, courtly love was characterized by a series of stylized rituals between a knight and a married lady of a high rank. These idealized customs were based on the traditional code of conduct associated with knighthood, such as duty, honor, courtesy, and bravery. So, you see, there are certain characteristics which are there. This is a love, okay, especially, I mean, you can say it is preconditioned. The love has a precondition, and there are certain basic criterias which need to be there. So first of all, this love, a love between a lady and a man, it will never be consummated as for the marriage. Both the people, a female and a male, when they are loving, they fall in love each other, there is no question that anyone is having anything in the mind that it would be finally, I mean, resulted as a marriage, which is not possible. Then, courtly love is the medieval concept of expressing admiration and love in a noble, chivalrous manner. When a man who is in a heroic position or a chivalrous man is there, how he could express his love. Especially, the man would be of the lower rank and the woman would be of the higher rank. This type of love exists outside marriage. This is a precondition. Medieval love, when we are talking, especially this, you know, uh, courtly love, it is always outside marriage. Before the man or the knight who falls in love with a lady, he already knows that she is married. She's married and she's a lady of a high rank. True love exists on a spiritual idealized plane and does not need to be physically consummate. Many times it happens that the lady and the man, they are just looking at each other, they are meeting on a very less frequent occasions, and they are not able to talk even, but it's a kind of idealized love. They see each other and both of them fall in love, and it's a kind of taking care of their emotions. They don't know each other, but a man falls in a love, and he's especially a knight or a warrior or a soldier, and the lady is of the his master's lady. So the ranking is there, the low high rank difference is there, and the soldier and the knight already knows that he would never be able to marry this high rank lady, but there is a love. Widely popular in European thought, the Middle Ages, courtly love was characterized by a series of stylized rituals between a knight and a married lady of high rank. You remember, please, the love is between the knight and a married lady of a high rank. It would be spiritual, idealized, and does not need to be physically consummate. And it always existed outside marriage. So these are the basic concept you need to understand. Basic preconditions, I say, you need to remember. So these idealized customs were based on a traditional code of conduct associated with knighthood, such as duty, honor, courtesy, and bravery. So what are the characteristics a man or a soldier has to display in this love? First of all, he is a knight. Then he would be dutiful. He would be, he's a man of honor, and he always display courtesy, and bravery before a lady. Then The Art of Courtly Love, Latin title De Amore, meaning concerning love, reflect the book's central theme and purpose: to engage in sustained inquiry into the nature of love, how to preserve it, why to repudiate it. 1936, C.S. Lewis wrote The Allegory of Love, further solidifying courtly love as a love of a highly specialized sort, whose characteristics may be enumerated as humility, courtesy, adultery, and the relation of love. Later historians such as D.W. Robertson Jr. in 1960 and John C. So in 1936, when C.S. Lewis wrote Allegory, that is love of a highly specialized sort. I mean, the love allegory when he wrote, then he actually put a lot of qualities in that. So you remember these are the qualities. Before that I said it is a duty, honor, courtesy and bravery. Then humility, courtesy, adultery and relation of love. These are the basic concepts which we need to remember, and these are the things which has been talked by elaborately by these writers C.S. Lewis, D.W. Robertson and John C. Please remember these, 1960 and 1936. Courtly love is a noun, a tradition presented in Western European literature between 12th and 14th centuries, idealizing love between a knight and a revered, that is usually married lady. Revered means respectable, very highly respectable. The term amour court is translated into English courtly love, come into wide use during late 19th century through the work of French philologist Gaston Paris. But the term itself was rarely used in medieval literature of any European language. So the first time this term came, that is by Gaston Paris, and what he wrote is it is 19th century, the work of a French philologist. Okay, so this term came in this courtly love. I mean, before that it was this clear concept was not there. So 19th century. The following rules and elements of the courtly love during in Middle Ages, written by 12th century Frenchman Andreas Capellanus in The Art Honesty Amandi, the art of courtly love, which include following 31 rules of courtly love. So Capellanus is giving us 31 rules of courtly love. Okay, remember Capellanus is categorically giving us 31 rules of courtly love. And before that, some of them I have already talked about: humility, courtesy, adultery, and religion of love, which is being given by D.W. Robertson. And then before that, we have already talked about dutiful. Then a knight would be dutiful, honest, courteous, and brave. Okay, so these are some of the qualities. Maybe 6 qualities we have talked about: humility, courtesy, adultery, and relation of love. Then from the knight side, duty, honor, courtesy, and bravery. Okay. Apart from that, we have to go for rest of the, total 31 rules. Andreas wrote The Art of Courtly Love, that is De Art Honesty Amandi, circa 1184, in the form of a letter to his almost certainly fictional friend Walter, who is seeking advice to how to get laid. So that's Andreas wrote in 1184. Please remember this fact seriously. Andreas wrote a letter to his fictitious friend. I mean, he imagining a friend. And 1184, he wrote a letter to his fictitious friend in which he is telling these are the qualities through which you can get a love. No one should be deprived of love without the very best of reason. No one can love unless he is impelled by the persuasion of love. Love is always a stranger in the form of avarice. It is not proper to love any woman whom one should be ashamed to seek to marry. Our golden rules of a couple is: do unto others as they would have you do unto them. Instead of treating our partners as we would like to be treated, we need to treat them as they want to be treated. The Art of Courtly Love by Andreas Capellanus is a 12th century guide to the ins and outs of medieval love affairs, from how to find love to how to keep it, and why maybe it's best to avoid it altogether. This week, Daniel speaks with Peter Coninzi about this fascinating book and why it should probably time to ditch some of the outdated dating advice. So this is, if you see how you can get a person, uh, the children of your age, they also go through all these kind of questions: how to get a woman, how to get a friend, how to keep the relationship, how to continue, how to cement the relationship. So it's all about love, how you can get a person, what are the qualities you need to have. But the first single golden principle is the way you want to be treated yourself, treat your partner that way. If you are in love, imagine if you are in love, how you want to be treated by the other person, by your lover. Treat your lover or treat your would-be lover in the same way, and you will get the person. So it's a kind of absolute democracy in love. Generally, in patriarchal sense, when we talk about love, women are being subordinated. A woman has to follow, a woman has to be subordinated, and woman has to be under pressure in the relationship. So it's a kind of equal and democratization of love, and that's how these rules are there. These are the simple principles for a love affair or a love. The Art of Courtly Love, Book 2, on the rules of love. So we have already talked that Andreas is giving 31 rules. Out of these certain rules which are there, marriage is no real excuse for not loving. If you think that, okay, somebody would marry or not, that's not the reason. So love doesn't bound by the marriage. He who is not jealous can't love. So it means, generally people say if you are not jealous, you don't love. Generally, when we fall in love, it's not necessary that you are jealous for your partner, that he would start loving somebody or she would start loving somebody, and if they are close to other, then you are feeling jealous. So jealousy is not a prime reason. Many people say that, oh, you are feeling jealousy for that, or it means you are in love. This is not the precondition. Even if you don't feel jealous, but you still love. No one can be bound by double love. So if one person is loving two person at a time, it's not love. It's a kind of adjustment, and it's a management. It is well known that love is always increasing or decreasing. Yes, in love relationship, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. So take it easy. That which a lover takes against his will of his beloved has no relish. That which a lover takes against his will of his beloved has no relish. Boys do not love until they arrive at the age of maturity. That's also people say that boys only can love when they are mature enough. So that's not the precondition. When one lover dies, a widowhood of 2 years is required for the survivor. That's people say. So if somebody is dying in a relationship, one partner, then the other has to stay single for 2 years. It's also not required. No one should be deprived of love without the very best of reason. So generally, any person under the sky and in this universe, if each one of us has a right to love. No one can love unless he is impelled by persuasion of love. Love is always a stranger in the home of avarice. So these are, conditions that it is not proper to love any woman whom one should be ashamed to seek to marry. The people say, if you can't marry a person, why should you love? No, no. Marriage is not a precondition. Despite whatever may be the circumstances, despite you are not able to marry, you are not able to consummate the relationship, but still go and love. A true lover does not desire to embrace and love anyone except his beloved. So that's also like, if a true lover, he has to stick to one. Uh, One may public love rarely endures. When made public, love rarely endures. The easy attainment of love makes it little value. Difficult of attainment make its price. So people say, easily if you have got love, then it's not so worth, and you have to pay a price for the love. That is also not true. Every lover regularly turns pale in the presence of his beloved. That's also not true. When a lover suddenly catches sight of his beloved, his heart palpitates. A new love puts to fight an old one. Good character alone make any man worthy of love. If love diminishes, it quickly fails and rarely revives. A man in love is always apprehensive. So when a man is in love, is always fearful. These are the rules. Real jealousy always increase the feeling of love. Jealousy and therefore love are increased when one suspects his beloved. He whom the thought of love vexed eat and sleep very little. Every act of lover ends with the thought of his beloved. A true lover considers nothing could accept what he thinks will please his beloved. Love can deny nothing to love. A lover can never have enough of solace of his beloved. A slight presumption causes a lover to suspect his beloved. A man who is vexed by too much passion usually does not love. So these are the rules, and when we are going to study De Amore, we'll study all the rest of the 31 rules. A true lover is constantly and without intermission possessed by the thought of his beloved. Nothing forbid one woman being loved by two men and one man by two women. The Art of Courtly Love, a very abstract translation of its original French title, De Amour. So, De Amour is a French title, is an essay written by 12th century scholar Andreas Capellanus, styled after a scholastic philosophic argument. It described what love is, how one may obtain its value to society, and its drawbacks. The best known example of courtly love is Lancelot's love for Guinevere, the wife of his best friend and king, author of Britain, Revolution, Democracy, and Republicanism. So these are the basic things I think, revolution in a love, democracy in a love, and republicanism. Republican is also again more representation, the sublime and transcendence, the power of imagination, genius and source of inspiration, proto-psychology and extreme mental state, nature and natural. The root of courtly love as an idea are believed to be the southern France courts at Poitiers when Duke William IX's granddaughter Eleanor of Aquitaine was said to be an early advocate of the practice and later inspired Andreas Capellanus to write De Amore. So these are the facts. Please remember, I repeat, the root of courtly love as an idea are believed to be from southern France, court at Poitiers, where Duke William IX's granddaughter, Eleanor of Aquitaine, was said to be an early advocate of practice and later inspired Andreas Capellanus to write De Amore. The idea behind courtly love is centered around the idea of romance. It is not about the physical aspect of love in a relationship in neither. It is about the sexual affection behind love. Instead, courtly love can be seen more of as an one-sided affection that usually goes unsuccessful. So that's what the precondition we have already talked about in the initial beginning slides. What was that? That from the lover's side, from the men's side, honesty, dutiful, and sacrifice, these are the qualities. From the women's side, humility, respect, dignity, and though. So, in the precondition, we have already said that both the lovers know that the marriage, this love will not be consummated. Second, the high ranking and low ranking is already there. The man is falling in a love of a married woman, so there is no question of marriage. So that these are the conditions, and apart from that, courtly love can be seen more of as a one-sided affection than that usually goes unsuccessful. And many times it happens that a knight has fallen in love with a lady, and the lady doesn't know at all. So that it is a many times it's a one-sided affair. Secrecy. Secrecy is one condition. Courtly lovers were pledged to strict secrecy. The foundation for their affair, indeed, the source of its special aura and electricity was the rest of the world, except for a few confidence and go between was excluded. A famous example of a relationship which was stirred by romantic courtly love and romance is described in the Legend of King Arthur, where his queen Guinevere fell in love with Sir Lancelot. Many illicit court romances were fueled by the practice and art of courtly love. Then, the violence and the wars of the Middle Ages was tempered by the rules of courtly love. The following rules and elements of the courtly love during the Middle Ages were written in 12th century Frenchman Andreas Capellanus. Marriage is no real excuse for not loving. Who is not jealous cannot love. Can't love. No one can be found by double love. It's well known that love is always increasing or decreasing. That which a lover takes against the will of his beloved has no rash boys do not love until they arrive at the age of maturity. When one lover dies, a widower of the 2 year is required for a survivor. No one should be deprived of love without the very best of reason. No one can love unless he is impelled by the persuasion of love. Love is always a stranger in the home of avarice. It's not proper to love any woman whom one should be ashamed to seek to marry. A true lover does not desire to embrace in love anyone except his beloved. When made public, love rarely endures. The easy attainment of the love make it for a little value. Difficult of attainment make it price. Good character alone make any man worthy of love. So these are the characteristics. Please remember, and the same thing I have already given in bullets also. And then let's come to the okay. The Miller's Tale is the worth of a story of a carpenter, his lovely wife, and two clerks, students who are eager to get her into bed. The carpenter John, lives in Oxford with his much younger wife, Alice Sound, who is something of a local beauty. To make a bit of extra money, John rents out a room in his house to a poor but clever scholar named Nicholas, who he has taken a liking to Alice Sound, another scholar in the town, Absalom, the parish clerk, also has his eyes on Ellie Sound. The action begins when the John makes a day trip to a nearby town. While he is gone, Nicholas convinces Alison to have sex with him and hence begin their affair. Shortly afterwards, Alison goes to church where Absalom sees her and immediately falls in love. He tries to win Alison's sexual favor by singing love songs under her window during the full moon and taking a part of the local play to try to get her attention. Alisam rebuffs all his efforts since she is already involved in Nicholas. So that's an extramarital affair. A woman, Alison, is uh, already married to his a carpenter husband, and then she falls in love with two much younger boys, and that's how the love is going on. So this is a illicit relationship. A man in love is always apprehensive. Real jealousy always increase the feeling of love. So jealousy and therefore love increase. I mean, these are the again, you can take a screenshot and you can remember these facts. In both the Canterbury Tales and the Art of Courtly Love, Geoffrey Chaucer and Andreas Capellanus deal with various aspects of courtly love. In particular, both of them focus to some degree on the question of clerical celibacy. The use of tale-telling and imaginary dialogues results in a contemporary overview of the role of the clerics in courtly love. The church rules on the subject and the opinions of the people on a subject that is ripe for exploration. My aim is to put out some of the similarities that result when the question of responsible celibacy is considered. So, thank you so much, and please, see this video again and again so you can be uh, clear about the concept of love and what are the basic principles, 31 rules of De Amore. That we will go again. Now, let me come to some other aspects of this. Because these are the simple facts. If you remember, it would definitely help you in an exam. So, courtly love and chivalry. What are the code of conduct? The code of behavior for medieval knights. The medieval knights. Medieval knights were generally younger sons of noble families. Young noble boys would learn the art of combat and etiquette in noble households, serving as a squire before becoming full-fledged knights. As a member of the first estate, a knight's role in the world was to protect his country by fighting in wars. Honor in battle was his aim, and he was expected as well to be humble, courteous, faithful to his lord and his wife, and unmotivated by material gain. The knight in the Canterbury Tale is an idea in this way. Since knights were only supposed to think about and practice warfare in the time, they ran into trouble during peacetime. Knights with nothing to do was liable to start wandering the countryside, raping and pillaging. This is not just because they were bored. Much of their livelihood was composed of money and goods taken from the enemy during and after battle. To keep knights from doing this, rulers would either drum up an excuse to send them off to war, engaging them to battle for any ally, for example, or invite them to demonstrate their fighting skills in a stage tournament. Tournaments become an increasingly popular from the entertainment during the Middle Ages, drawing spectators from all over, including ladies. Associated with these tournaments was the idea of courtly love an idealized form of love that ennobled a knight and caused him to fight his best. The rules of courtly love requires each knight to fight for a particular lady and to gain honor in her name. A courtly love swords unwavering devotion to the one lady who was coy at the first and made him prove himself before she would best her favor. Desired to impress his lady drove a knight to valiant acts and compelled him to act politely. In this relationship, the lady had the upper hand, and the knight's duty was total humble servitude and submission. An ideal lover was love stuck all the time, stuck to the heart by Cupid arrow and wasting away from the pains of love. This love for love's sake, not for mercenary reasons, which were the main factors of determining marriage at the time. Consequently, ideal courtly love was adulterous love. Only with an unattainable woman could a man love for love's sake. The ideals of chivalry and courtly love were similar. Both requires men to act polite and fight nobly. Both courtly love and chivalry hinged on a concept of absolute loyalty. Chivalry to one's lord and courtly love to one's lady. Both had a religious connection. The chivalrous knights fought for God and country and filled his God's given role in the world. Courtly love was in many ways a religion of love with rituals uh, and sacrifice. So, realities of chivalry in real life, knights were not as perfectly faithful to their lords and modest as the rules of chivalry requires. Knighthood was their profession and they fought to maintain themselves. Regular pillaging was a major component of this, and along with pillage, slaughters of innocent townspeople or less than noble acts were not uncommon. On the other hand, ideals of bravery were not as compelling and chivalry demanded an amorphous concept of honor did not always hold water when faced with real mortal danger. So, realities of courtly love is likewise what was idealized as love for love's sake often boiled down to lust. Adultery, although romanticized in the literature and art, measures in medieval society adulterous love. Nor did a knight necessarily devote himself to one's lady for the life. The Knight of La Tour Landry describes a young knight flirting with one lady, pledging undying love, and then to being turned down, as seeking out another lady to pledge undying love to. Doubtless, some ladies actually did bestow themselves on the young knights, but to do so was adulterous lust, not the ennobling union of romantic literature. The ideals and the rules of the both chivalry and courtly love may have been invented to keep order in a system in which younger sons who did not inherit the family estate because member of the stranger household encouraging hormonal young man to fight for a nobleman's name and sublimate his aggression. Unconsummated love for the nobleman's wife would keep them from spending these energies in more destructive ways. So, in this way, we can understand what was the courtly love. And I'll just make another video which is exclusively on that, and then we'll go for that. So, this has actually explained you how the courtly love is there. And you listen them again, watch because every single slide I'm just trying to stop so you can take screenshot also. And when you are attempting your question, at least remember the concept of courtly love. What is courtly love? Then, what are the principles of the courtly love? And there are certain strict rules and regulations. But somewhere, a woman is being given, a place. So there are many loopholes are there, but that we are not going to discuss right now. So please remember this. Thank you so much. Subscribe the channel.